Hi, welcome to Riffs on Writing, where we answer your writing and publishing questions in 10 minutes or less. But today we have a special guest. With us today is Carla Stockton, one of our fabulous writers, and we're going to be talking about her book, Too Much of Nothing, Notes on Feminism, Womanhood, and Identity. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yay.
Yay. Well, so our first question for you, Carla, is why did you write this book?
Why did I write this book? That's a really good question. And I think a lot of people are asking me that because they think I shouldn't have bothered. But the reason I wrote this book is because it's the culmination of a lifetime of experience that I wanted to share to younger women, to women my age. Overwhelmingly, the people who are reading it are saying they see themselves in it. And that's exactly what I was hoping for. It's a mirror of life growing up in the 60s, being female. And especially the side note is that I'm also a child of refugees from the Holocaust. So it's a compendium of experience that is unique to the 60s, but not unique to me. 60s, 70s, not unique to me. And that's why I wrote it.
So clearly you should have written it. Clearly and
important. Yeah, I mean, I saw myself in it when I read it. So yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's what I'm aiming for, is to speak for all of us.
I think it's definitely one of those books that crosses a lot of age groups and experiences. So I think a lot of people will be able to see themselves in your work. Yeah. This is kind of a more general question. Just in general, why do you write?
Oh. You know, when I was a kid, and this is sort of a thread in the book, my mother would get angry at me on Saturdays when I would journal. She called it scribbling. And the more she called it scribbling, the more I thought, okay, screw you, I'm scribbling. But it's always, I thought I wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to be expressive in that way. But I found very early on that as an actor, I made a really good writer. And I found that I was good at finding dialogue, and I was good at making voices. I wrote essays for people in my high school class, in their voices. And it was something that I could do that could express me, that I didn't need a lot of money to do it. And I could do it when I could. But it took me until I was in my late 60s to find the freedom to actually do the writing the way I want to do the writing, as a vocation, not as an avocation.
That's a great description. Like, we're big fans of people who write as a hobby, but obviously we're pretty committed to writing as a vocation too. So here's another question. We know you're not in your typical workspace right now, but what does your typical writing workspace look like?
My favorite place to write before COVID was always someplace like that. There's a coffee shop called Joe at Columbia where there's a lot of movement going around, and there's music that I can tune out. Or there was a place called Cafe Max, very homey, lots of old furniture that you could sit on and you could stay for hours, and I could put my headphones on and block out everything and write. Since COVID, that's not so easy to find, and not so comfortable. The places are not as inviting as they were before in the city. So, and I steer away from places. There's a place in New York called the Hungarian Bake Shop that everybody wants to go to because all the famous writers went there to write. All the Columbia writers go there to write. It's around the corner from that place. But I don't like it for two reasons. One is I'm inevitably going to run into people I know, and it's going to lead to conversation. And two, it's too busy and too studied. It's too determinedly artsy. Oh, look at us, we're doing it. That doesn't speak to me. So now my favorite workspace is I have a big glass desk that a friend of mine gave me that was her husband's, and her husband was a very famous writer for whom I finished a book.
Mm.
Then I got his desk when he died after I finished his book. And it's just a big glass desk. I have it right by a window overlooking 131st Street. I can block out anything with earphones, or I can listen to the hum of the street and have that enable me as well. That's my favorite workspace.
That description makes me want to be a writer.
That's funny. And because you are one, I guess that says something about what you're saying about yourself too.
So I think you already described some of it, but do you have any specific habits around your writing life?
Oh God, my habits are terrible. No, they really are. And I tell my students this all the time. I've been teaching for, I said the other day, I'm about to reach the 50th anniversary of motherhood. And as I do that, I realize I'm about to reach the 50th anniversary of teaching. And I tell my students all the time that there are no rules to what you do when you're writing, and there's no absolute how you get past the blocks. People talk about writer's block as though it comes in one big force, but it comes minute by minute. You get writing blocks as you're writing. And my approach to that is to get up and look in the refrigerator, even though I know what's not in there. And if there are chips around, something crunchy, to crunch on chips. There's just something about crunching that activates the thinking process. I drink a lot of water. I used to drink a lot of coffee, but now it's more water. I love New York City water, and seltzer. And so, and then again, walking around, talking to myself, just sort of scratching my head, eating more, searching the refrigerator more, straightening up my workspace more, and then going back to the writing. Those are my habits.
Yeah, I love that too, though, because I think people think sometimes those things are procrastination, but they're not really. Like for me, walking is a big deal, even if I'm just doing laps around my house, right? Like, and it's not that I'm procrastinating, it's that I'm letting my brain ruminate. So love that.
Absolutely. I find too that this summer I haven't done as much walking as I normally do, and I haven't been writing as much as I normally do. For me, the first thing in the morning is a walk. I love to just go out and walk for an hour in the city and then come back to my apartment, and I am energized. I mean, it does energize me. And even now with the city in a state of kind of there's sort of an odd vibe going on in the city right now where people are very dissatisfied and not enough people are working because people don't want to work for minimum wage, whatever it is. Even with the odd vibe, I find that it's energizing to be out there and enervating to be indoors all the time.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it my turn?
It can be your turn, Caroline, please.
I don't know if it's my turn.
Such sibling relationship.
What's the one piece of advice that you wish you were given before you started out on this path?
Oh my God, there's so many things I wish people had told me.
This is like the hardest question. It's the worst question.
I'm 77, so that means I've learned a lot, you would hope, over this lifetime. And most of the messages that I've gotten very late. I wish somebody had told me it was okay. I'm sorry. This is a big one.
Yeah.
I wish somebody had told me it was okay to ask for help. I never did. And I wish I had. Because I believe that just with a little bit of mentorship, I would have managed to do this a long time ago. And that I wouldn't have lost my marriage because I would have known how to navigate it. I wouldn't have alienated loved ones because I would have known how to navigate my life and my writing life. Mentorship. Find a mentor, somebody who knows what they're talking about, somebody who is willing to let you lean just a little bit. You don't have to get them to do anything for you, but to be there to answer your questions and lead you.
That's
As
beautiful.
Andy and I bawl our eyes out.
I know, I'm like, don't cry.
And honestly, though, for me, I will say we never go into ourselves really on these calls, but I will say that that's what saved me in university is I had a professor who sort of took me under her wing when I kept getting kicked out of film school because the head guy did not like what I was writing. It was screenwriting, and she just kept pulling me through, and it's thanks to her.
Yeah.
So
It makes all the difference.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Carla, here's your last question. What writing books or creativity books in general, if you want, would you recommend?
I found most of them to be kind of dull and solipsistic. That's been my experience. It's not so interesting to me to go with Annie Lamott and travel through her vision. I found that reading is my best teacher. Reading itself is my best teacher to find the things that I like. There are pieces by Annie Dillard, for example, that I could see myself in terms of the way she wrote. And there are others that I didn't like so much. I have to say that Stephen King's book about writing is one of my favorite books about writing because it's so conversational and just kind of he's iconoclastic, and he's exactly my generation. I mean, I think we're exactly the same age, and he comes from a very similar kind of atmosphere that I grew up in. So his book, I didn't find it helpful. I didn't necessarily learn anything from it, but it was validating. I took a course at Wesleyan. There were two courses that I took at Wesleyan between or among my degrees. When I was teaching, there was a program at Wesleyan called you could earn a certificate of advanced study. And I took a couple of courses there, and one was with a woman named Anne Green, who actually was the first person who said, memoir is a thing for you. That's a really good place for you. And another woman named Gail Smith, who taught a course on witches in Shakespeare. And that sort of opened up a whole bevy of validations, I guess. Suddenly being a witch didn't hurt so much anymore, just because I was reading about the background of witches, and of course it linked with Shakespeare, which is an original love. But anyway.
No, that's awesome, and that comes into your book. Like, you have that witch theme in there. So also, just Carla, I can recommend this to everyone and you. There's a book called When Women Were Dragons that I think you would love. It's a contemporary book, similar themes to all the witch stuff. So
cool. I will look for it. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you for being here with us today. And for everybody listening, watching, you can get Carla's book on our website, mountainash.press, or at your local book retailers. Right now, at the time of filming, it's available for pre-order. When you see this, it might already be in the store. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If Stephen King, you'd like to respond to Carla, please feel free to reach out.
I got a like from Liev Schreiber the other day. Okay.
Oh, nice.
If you're looking for, and he's my birthday twin. He's exactly 20 years younger than I am. So listen, if Liev Schreiber, if I'm good enough for him, I'm good enough for Stephen.
Yeah. If you want to reach out to, please do. We will be more than happy to chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And thank you again for being here today with us.
Thank you. This has been wonderful. You guys are wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.